2021. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is Invocation.
It'd be whoever was District 1,
Oh,
Seat 1.
Oh, did we get a schedule for that? I actually have no idea who is in that seat. Tom, do you have anything ready to go off the dome by any chance?
Well, because they,
So the way we agreed to the invocation would be that I did the first one, and then it would revert to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whoever would be in today would be whoever is in Seat 1. I really don't know who that is.
Yeah, same.
look it up because it's on the website, it's on this.
Who is Seat 1?
No, I have to look it up. It's on the,
Okay, to save time, I'll just volunteer to do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Dear Father in heaven, we come to you today. We ask you to be with us as we deliberate all the things that have to do with the rivers, tributaries, inland waterway, and ocean. Lead us to do the right decision and do it in a manner that's proper and correct. In your name, amen.
Great. Secretary, please perform roll call. Perfect timing, Chris.
Commissioner Rivers,
Here.
Commissioner Way,
Barely here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Flowers. Here. Commissioner West. Here.
Great. Next is adoption and approval of agenda. Does anyone have any modifications to the agenda today? Hearing nothing, do we have a motion to adopt and approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Public comment. Any members of the public? No? Great. Government representative comments.
Good afternoon. Sydney Lindblad, Parks and Recreation Natural Resources Program Manager. I provided you guys today with a breakdown of our beach pass sales, as well as the previous 2 years. So this year we collected $886,912.70. Just a few things I wanted to point out about this year. This was the first year that we did some online sales for the passes, just the annual passes. They weren't as high as I would have liked them to be, but again, the 20 passes were valid through this year. So I'm hoping to, and it kind of let us kind of work out the kinks of that whole process. So we do anticipate those numbers to go higher next season. You can see we had over 13,000 increase in just day passes from this year to last year. And then an even larger difference, because we like to compare it to 2019 rather than last year, since it was such an unprecedented season with COVID and then making the annual passes valid for 2 years. So our day passes then increased for over 18,000 from 2019 to 2021. You guys have any questions on those numbers?
I have a couple of questions. First of all, where does the revenue go?
The revenue goes all back into our beach operations, which pays for trash and recycling, our law enforcement, our marine rescue, and lifeguards, our portalets, and then also our beachfront restroom cleanings as well.
Okay, so it's explicitly appropriated and not back into general revenue.
100%. It goes right back to the beach fund.
Okay. So going back to 2019, we have total day passes at 48,000, and then with 2021 not even being over yet, it's a 20,000 increase in population. Any ideas why?
I think everyone just wanted to get out of the house and they were traveling. Just the numbers, the tourism numbers coming here were just incredible. So that's you know, and we're seeing that increase through our day passes because of that annual pass being valid for 2 years. So that's where you can really see the jump of how many people are just visiting for the day rather than being here for a long period of time and buying that annual pass.
So what are you anticipating some of the needs being? Because certainly I would think public restrooms at some point needs to be discussed. What are the conversations about that?
Yes, so we've increased our bathroom cleanings. Before we didn't have any restroom cleanings on the weekends, which A few years ago, that's when we went into contract service for restroom cleanings on the weekends. Our TDC dollars pay for that. But we've also rearranged our staff hours and also increasing a part-time bathroom cleaning to kind of have extra cleanings for those bathrooms. So we are trying to staff more as well. Thank you.
Can I ask another question off subject on
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Do you remember when we passed the resolution to set some monies aside for boat landings, and county said that they were going to do a $100,000 one-year study?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us the status of that study?
That is out to bid right now, so they're just finalizing the contract. So we put together our scope, and it went out to bid, so we're just waiting to finalize that contract.
And they'll be able to finish that, though, within that 1 year?
Yes,
Okay.
well, we have 3 years for fine.
Oh, excuse me,
Yeah.
you guys came and told us it was a one-year study.
It would take about 1 year to do the study, but our funds to be reallocated back or to reimburse from fine, we have 3 years per that contract. But we
My
wanted to get
understanding
that done
We set
as
aside
soon.
a substantial amount of money for the boat ramp, so.
Yes, we don't want to take 3 years at all. We want to sign this contract, and it should take us about 9 to 12 months to complete.
But the contract's being bid and looked at right now, so the study is going to go forward at some point here.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
shortly.
Yes.
Okay. And the only other question is, with the dredging, or what they call dredging, going on over at the Bolano boat ramp there, can you tell me the name of the company that's doing the soil moving?
Can't think of
Could
that off
you
the
just
top of my head. I will
Could you just
find
email
out.
that
and
to me later?
Yes,
Be
ma'am.
fine.
Yes,
That'd be
ma'am.
great.
Mhm, yeah.
That's all, thank you.
And then per Nate, I have some notes. He's up at a meeting up at Michler's with the FEMA dune restoration project. So I'll just go over our boat ramps and current projects that are going on right now. As you know, October 1st started our new fiscal year, and there are several projects that are now funded within this fiscal year that are starting to go through the bidding process. One is the Volano parking lot improvements, which will begin right after the dredging is completed because we didn't want damage to a brand-new parking lot during the dredge. So we switched those two projects. So the dredge went first, the parking lot improvements will come right after. The last time we were here at Doug Crane, we did not have our permits in hand. We do have those now. So we're in the bidding process as well for that boat ramp. And then we were also awarded, this is outside of the district, but again, we were awarded through FIND to construct a brand-new boat ramp in Ponte Vedra West. So now we have that fund, so we're going through the bidding project as well for that.
So that's going to happen in Ponte Vedra for sure?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
new boat ramp, that's great.
Absolutely. Additionally, for this fiscal year, we are funded at $1.2 million for Butler West, so we're starting that design and starting that project as well. For our beach walkover improvements, we've also been funded around $1 million. And this is going to occur at various locations throughout the county. We're trying to locate, the ones that desperately need the improvement, so we're going through the ranking process now and working on getting our permits and the drawings for that. The construction for these improvements will need to occur outside of sea turtle nesting season, which will be November 1st through April 30th, so we're going to try our best to get as much done during that time. Our current projects, we just had a new task order issued for the Volano dredge, which will include the dredging underneath the emergency services launching facilities. And then again, the emergency FEMA berm renourishment project is wrapping up down at Fort Matanzas, and they're going to start the CO planning shortly. And then they'll mobilize up to South Ponte Vedra, and then they will move to Michler's. Anyone have any
You
questions?
mentioned the Volano parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Where? Where is that?
That's the current parking lot. We're just going to repave it. We're going to have more delineated traffic throughout the lot to make it more efficient, and then delineated parking spaces.
Okay, say it again. Where is it located?
The Volano landing, the boat ramp.
Oh, the landing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And are they actually going to be able to add parking spaces, do you know, or it's just using existing and putting some new lines in?
It's existing, but it's going to be more efficient because they're going to be delineated, and they'll have different sizes for trucks and trailers, so it will provide more parking spaces and, yeah.
They're using the under the bridge a lot, the parking along the public access there. It's almost turned into another, under those bridges are kind of nice though because it's already public property.
Right. Yeah, and we're hoping with the new boat ramp in Ponte Vedra and then some improvements to Doug Crane and expanding that parking, that hopefully it'll alleviate some of all the parking down the Volano Causeway, so. Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Jim Piggott, City of St. Augustine. Just a couple of very quick items. First of all, I handed all the commissioners parking pass, so you can throw away your old parking pass that you have. This is good around the Lightner building if ever you need to come to the Lightner for any type of business, port business, or getting to your port office. And then the last thing I have is, this is just a reminder, we're coming up on the dredging application season, if you will. Usually in January, February, I'll bring to the Port District an interlocal agreement for approval so we can apply for another dredging grant with $50,000 from you as a match and then $150,000 from Find. I think, if my memory serves me right, this will be our third one. If we get approved for this grant, that'll give us 3 total of $200,000 grants, $600,000 total, so we'll be starting dredging hopefully next January type, if that's the correct number, top of my head.
They just dredged Salt Run. Is that what you're talking about, Salt Run?
Yeah, so this may be the second one then that we're going for. Commissioner Blow's here from Find. He has some good information for you on our applications that were just vetted by the Florida Inland Navigational District. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Yep. Anyone else? Government reps? Hey, Carl.
Hello, Commissioners. Just got a little handout here for you. You know me, I can't function without a handout.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Carl Blow, Commissioner, Florida Inland Navigation District. Commissioners, hope that everything's going well with you. What I've just handed out is the final funding for the Florida Inland Navigation District's Waterways Assistance Program grant program, and this is for this year, 2021, 2022. And on the first page, if you look down, that third area there is St. Johns County, and how things turned out is basically we had 4 grant applications, one from the city, which you guys are involved in, having to do with dredging Salt Run. That's what Mr. Pickett just referred to. Once again, that grant scored very high, so that $150,000 is in the bank for you. Also, the next one down was St. Johns County, was Doug Crane. I believe you had your own port funding involved in that, and as Sydney said, they got their permits and they're ready to go, so that money's in the bank for you. The next 2 down are outside your district. They're up there at the Palm Valley Bridge. The Palm Valley Boat Ramp Phase 2 East is basically the existing boat ramp, on the east side under the bridge. And then the last one is the one Sydney referred to, which is a new boat ramp on the west side under the bridge, which is desperately needed up there. So basically what happened, if you look at the St. Johns County grants, you'll see that the total amount of grant requested was $900,000. And then if you go over to the right, you'll see recommended funding of $781,000. What happens here is all these grant applications scored high, but Find has a formula that is based on the amount of gross tax revenue out of each county And the formula applies to that amount of money, and based on the formula, it comes up with an amount that is the maximum amount that can be allocated to a particular county. And if you look down at some of these other counties, obviously the big counties like Miami-Dade, Broward, you know, it's a lot more than $781,000. So the good news is we had successful grants that exceeded the maximum allocation for St. Johns County. And what happened is as we enter our budgeting process, I've got to, you know, when all the grants are scored high, I have to cut something in order to fit it into the $781,000. And the 781 changes every year because, you know, pretty much you can guarantee that property values are going to go up in each county every year. So therefore, even though we've kept our millage rate the same for 25-something years, the actual gross revenue due to appreciation and development of property goes up every year. So next year it should be a little more than 781. So at any rate, I had to cut some, and which I'd rather be in that position than have our grants come in less than 781. And in my mind, you're kind of leaving money on the table. So what I did is, in consultation with the county and the city, is I reduced the amount of the grant for Palm Valley East. And what we'll do there is we designated that a multi-year grant. So I assume the county will come back with a grant application for the Palm Valley East in this next coming cycle. And the reason we designated a multi-year is that way we can hold that $31,000 in you know, I don't want to say escrow, in effect it's an escrow, and apply that to a new grant application if it scores successfully, if that all makes sense to you. But anyway, we had a pretty good year. Last year, unfortunately, you know, the county had come in for the Palm Valley West permit, the $450,000. We did not have our core permit in hand by our last budget hearing. Therefore, even though that project scored high, without the permits, we can't fund it. So we left a bunch of money on the table this prior year to this year, and that's something I hate to do. So anyway, that's how we turned out. As you can see, you know, these are all the 12 counties on here. You can kind of get a feel for what the other counties are doing. If you want to look at any of these actual applications or projects, all this stuff, all this material is on our website. And actually, you would go to our June meeting, which is where all the applications are presented, and so and you can actually see the applications if you're interested in looking at some of these others. So that said, here again, you know, we're now in a new year, and you know, our deadline is for grant applications for our next fiscal year, which would be 2022-23, would be March 31st. Of 2022, which sounds like a long way off, but it really isn't. So, you know, I'm already talking to the city. They have a plan, as Mr. Pickett referred to, and then the county is looking at what they want to do. So I'm just urging everyone, and yourselves included, to think about potential projects. So that you don't miss that deadline, because there's no way to extend our grant deadline beyond March 31st. And as you know, whether you're dealing with the county or the city, you have interlocal agreements to get done and that sort of thing. So we got a new year, and there's going to be more than $781,000 available for entities in St. Johns County, government entities, whether it's the county or the city of St. Augustine, and actually we've provided grant funding to the airport authority for dredging their basin there in the past. So that's where we are. So, put your thinking caps on.
Hey, Carl, can fund money to purchase property
Yes.
for a boat ramp or?
We can, we will do that. At one time, we would only fund 25%, and we just bumped that up to, I think, 50%. So yes, we will fund, in fact, we did that, Sydney, what was the deal when we did with the county? We helped fund something over on the river.
Yeah,
What-
Riverdale, it was
River-
75-25 then.
Yeah, it was only 25%, but yeah, we helped the county buy. Actually, it was land adjacent to an existing boat ramp over on the river.
And another question, just out of curiosity, is there a Carl Blow in every county? Do you represent just
Commissioner?
St. John's?
Yeah, the way fine was set up is that, we're a special taxing district like yourselves, but our taxing district covers the 12 counties on the east coast of Florida. And we are the local sponsor with the Corps to maintain the intercoastal waterway. And what happened was, we obviously tax everybody in those 12 counties. And, but in the early 80s, the legislature looked at fine and said, hey, if you guys, what's the point of having this special taxing district to maintain the waterway if people can't get to it? And the result of that attitude of the legislature was they wanted us to come up with a program to help local governments improve the public access to the intercoastal waterway, and that's when this grant program was created. So to answer your question, yeah, there's a commissioner for each of those 12 counties, and I'm your guy.
You're our guy?
St.
Okay.
John's.
And you're appointed by the governor, correct?
Appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate, yeah.
Carl, I do have a quick question. Our hands seem to be tied a little bit. I think all of us would like to move forward with some creative project, boat ramp projects, beach access projects, you name it. But what has to be done first in terms of sequencing is identify the available pieces of property where we can do that. We can't do that until we have the study from the county, right? I think it would be duplicative in nature if we embarked upon our own study when you guys are undergoing that study currently. So not to add any pressure to the county, but if we're facing a March 2022 deadline, in order to identify those key parcels for future projects and have that matching funding opportunity through FIND, we need to have those answers from the county sooner rather than later.
Well, that's a good point, and I've been working with Commissioner Waldron on that issue, and basically there's opportunities right now that
I know.
well, not only buying land, but also we've talked about the east side of State Road 312 under that bridge. That involves sitting down with DOT, FDOT, which shouldn't be that big, well, I shouldn't say it's, if you've ever dealt with DOT, but let me put it this way, is when you look at other counties south of here, there are a lot of DOT bridges that have public boat ramps under them. So that's one that has been kicked around. Also, I think there might be available DOT land under the 206 bridge on the east side. So you're not so much looking at land purchases there, you're looking at having to deal with the Florida Department of Transportation, which,
I found them delightful over at the May Street.
Oh,
12 of them
I
showed
love
up,
the
knocked it out
DOT.
in 2 hours, and it was done. I'd never seen government work so fast in my life.
yeah, they're a great
The nice
bunch
thing
of
about the
folks.
east side of both of those bridges is there's no marsh taken over there, whereas on the west side, I know under 312, it's full of marsh on the
On the
west
west
side. And I think
side,
the
yeah.
southern bridge also has marsh on the west
Well,
side.
that's always what we've run into in St. Johns County is trying to find a suitable piece of property that doesn't have significant jurisdictional wetlands issues. I mean,
So the
this
FDOT would
board,
normally just lease that to us for $1, where these other nice parks are under their bridges. They don't
Oh, DOT?
charge us for the land.
yeah, DOT, normally what you do is you negotiate an interlocal agreement with them.
Carl, who at DOT should we talk to if we wanted to start a conversation about the 312 bridge, for instance?
Well, I would suggest, since, you know, you guys can talk directly to any of the county commissioners, you might want to reach out with Commissioner Waldron and discuss it with him and
Is that
kinda-
gonna mess up our study, though? I mean, like I said, I'd hate to spend
No,
money on
it
a
won't.
study of that
Unless-
kind
Not
of money.
necessarily. I mean, we need more than one boat ramp, so I don't think it hurts to go ahead and have this
I can tell you
conversation.
here right now, you could double boat ramps in St. Johns County and it won't.
And the Southern
and it
District
won't.
is well underserved. And
Yeah.
thank God for what's going on in
The
Palm
whole county
Coast.
is underserved for
Right,
boat
but see,
ramps.
our district doesn't cover the whole county, unfortunately, although it should. So we can't go any further north than Serenata,
Right.
which is, yeah.
Well, I'll give you, you know, one thing that's been kicked around. I mean, Sydney just told you about dredging the Volcano Basin. One thing to look at, which would be a grant opportunity, is what you could do to improve the, where the Volcano Boat Basin enters the river. You know, it's.
Intercoastal?
It's got a jetty on the
North
north side, but there's nothing on the south side, and we've kicked around perhaps looking at some sort of sheet pilings, but they would be below the mean low water, and then you'd have a living shoreline kind of deal.
Just to stop the water, the sand
Yeah,
from silting
to
up
stop
into
the
the.
sand from coming in, but still have a living shoreline type of
You know, the
creation.
Comanche entrance, which is public, is that same phenomenon
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on there where if we could do both at the same, because it's constantly, you know, just literally silting up.
Well, that's something the county's probably kicking around. What they would have to do is, you know, that would be, and if they came to find, that would be a Phase 1 grant for engineering and permitting, because that obviously is going to be a permitting effort to, you know, get that done. But something needs, the problem is the Volcano Basin fills up, you know, rapidly. I mean, you're going to have to dredge it in another, I don't know, 2 years probably. And it's getting, it's getting very expensive because DEP is made it more challenging to permanently dispose of the dredge spoil. At one time, you know, you could dredge this material out of the San Sebastian River or wherever and backfill borrow pits with it, but DEP is concerned about the salinity of the material if it comes out wet, and then
Right.
we've
I
danced around
understand why
it.
we're having to move it, but I've watched the
Anyway, it's
operation
getting-
over there, and I mean, it's that we are doing it the most expensive ways we can. You weren't here, Commissioner West, but when we talk about these cutter head suction dredges, we are literally excavating from a barge, going down, in a bucket, bringing this up. All the awful water has, oh boy, it was awful this summer for the, discoloring the bay fronts, going out with the tide. That's coming up out of the little channel there. They're putting it on the barge. Now they're driving the barge to the edge of the shore, taking it from the barge, putting it on the shore, where it drains out some more. Then they're taking it from the shore, putting it in a little short truck. That's just running over to West King. Nothing's going up to Jacksonville. I don't think you could do, not only that, they're literally dredging blind. And it's just another reason I think we should really look at possessing the correct equipment for this district, and it can be privately managed. But we will always pay $500,000 to do a half a job there, because they're dredging blind.
Yeah, they actually have done Bologna before with a hydraulic
Oh, I know they have, but
system.
even when Chip was messing around, Chip Yelton,
Yeah.
years ago with dredging and salt run, he said, anytime you do that, see, a cutter head suction dredge takes those edges of the channel and rounds them out. He said, every time I dredge, the channel just falls right in. I mean, the edge just falls right back into the channel when you're bucket dredging. It's just so archaic.
Yeah, well,
And you will be doing it every 2 years if you're doing it like that.
most of the dredging that Fine does with the Corps is hydraulic dredging. And one thing Fine has is we have, I don't know how many, 30-something thousand acres worth of parcels of land all up and down the East Coast in order to pump that material to, so that it can dewater and then, and eventually be reused somewhere.
Well, this
That's-
project is dewatering right there, you know, in the
Well, I
parking lot.
know Volano was done one time when they took half the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
and pumped the material into, you know, containment berm and.
But it's not even going into a hopper, Carl. I saw a hopper there one day. It left empty and never came back. So we were told it was going to be put into the hopper, taken to Jacksonville. It's being taken, that dirt's being moved 3 times. And honestly, by the time it gets to the, whatever site that is on West King, the bio site,
Yeah. Well,
most, half of it's gone back into the water or into the land there somewhere, so.
I can assure you that our friends at DEP, they monitor you very closely as far as where the material ends up eventually. And
Is that where it's supposed to end up, out West King?
I'm sure if it went there, they got DEP
You told us
approval.
Jacksonville.
Well, here again, if they got approval to take it somewhere else, then that's,
We're not doing that dredging project right. It's the worst thing I have ever seen. I'm not the only one. It's literally draconian. When, again, the right equipment would keep all of that from going up into the water, being, going right out with the tide, polluting the rest of the bayfront's been awful, when it should have been the clearest time of the year. But it
Well,
looks like mutt and Jeff out there. I
I'm
really
not
wish we could
involved
do
in that
better.
project, so, but I will
Maybe
tell
next
you,
election,
my
we'll try to get our own
experience is the
equipment.
regulatory agencies watch those projects very closely, but I'm not involved in that one. so
I do go watch them.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, Sydney Limba, Parks and Rec. I just wanted to maybe offer an alternative. So when you guys were talking about the maritime master plan, we're not going to not go to find this year.
Okay.
Even if, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll come with a list of our ideas. We do coordinate with fire rescue and marine rescue as well as the city, since there is only a certain pot of money. We don't like to compete with each other. We like to all go in as a team. So we are putting down our ideas together and brainstorming with now getting so much funding as well with the fifth cent with TDC that are already going to fund some projects that we kind of had on our list. But we'll definitely come back if it's next month possibly with some ideas. And if there's some partnerships in those projects, we would love to move forward with that.
Perfect. We
Okay.
look forward to hearing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other government representatives?
Steve Zukowski, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Lieutenant/Patrol Supervisor for Coastal, Flagler, and St. Johns Counties. This should be a quick one this month, unless you all have a lot of questions. And I'll still try to keep it quick. Boating safety. As you may recall, last month I told you about that we were having an operational detail operation, Mudfish, to look at new and/or existing at-risk vessels and derelict vessels in St. Johns County. So that ran here for a couple of days in our area. Then it went over to the St. Johns River and then over inland, I think in Marion County. We had a subject matter expert up from the Keys, an officer, actually, that's all he does. So the result of that was, between us and Deputy Braddock, the Sheriff's Department, we're pretty good on accountability for DVs. We only found one new one. And that's where you can imagine the Crane Park, I don't know what you want to call it, the unofficial mooring field at Crane Park off there. But we did discover, based upon the new criteria that's come out from Tallahassee, 10 at-risk vessels. So what's happening with some of the at-risk vessels is we're in the process of trying to contact the registered owner or the last responsible party to see if they can bring the boat up to a standard so we can take it off that list. Because if it doesn't come off that at-risk list, then it's going to become a derelict vessel probably within the next 3 to 6 months. And of those 10, I think the officers have located 4 of the registered owners, one of which already did his sea trial, so that boat is no longer at risk. And the other 3 have sea trials basically within the next probably 3 to 5 weeks.
These are people at anchor?
Pardon?
People at anchor?
Yes.
And what do you mean by sea trials?
Well, you have to prove that the boat can get underway, make way, either by sail, rowing, in this case is sail, or motor,
And that's a new state law?
for at-risk. Yep.
Is there a
that's criteria.
statute attached to that or something?
There is somewhere, but if you go to our Boating and Waterways site, there's a whole section on at-risk vessels. So,
Okay. So it's part of that statute would be in there?
yes, I don't know if the statute's been updated yet, but it's our program. But it will be, because statutes can only be updated, I think.
So what if somebody says, I don't feel like doing a sea trial for you?
And that's fine, you're a derelict vessel.
Because they don't drive for you?
Yes, one of the standards, so a
Have you ever
vessel
been
is,
sued on that yet?
one of the standards is for not, one of the standards for a derelict vessel is you must be able to get underway with it, or make way actually, in the event of, let's say, a natural disaster such as a hurricane. Otherwise, that becomes a taxpayer's problem when that boat sinks.
But that happens on the mooring balls. People don't know their engines aren't going. I've seen people sitting on mooring balls for years.
Well,
Perfectly
that-
legal,
that's-
insured,
well,
and
that's
everything.
that's an issue with the city.
I'm just
and
trying to
mooring
find out,
balls.
is that,
But-
that's not a federal law, that's a state, and you believe it is a statute behind it?
That these are new criteria, not a statute yet, but the way the existing statute is now being applied by our boating and waterways section is if you cannot show that your vessel can get under power or by sail, and the criteria is to take it down 100 yards or north, and come on back and remoor it, then it can be considered at risk, and then it can be considered derelict.
So it goes into an at-risk state?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's all based on
At that. So-
not doing a drive for law enforcement?
Well, that's just one of the criteria. There's other criteria for at-risk also. For example, if you have open hatches that can collect water and sink it, if the boat's not maintained. There's, if you'd like, Commissioner Flowers, what I can do next month, I can bring you the handout that we have.
I'll
with all
look it
this-
up online.
With all this information in it. Because that came to us via electronic copy, so I can get one printed out. I can get one printed out for all the commissioners and do it.
I've just never, I've been on the water a lot, and I'd never heard of a driving test, so I'm just very curious about that, and I expect that would come into some real legal challenges at some point.
That's what our people in Tallahassee have decided.
Right.
and
I'm not
pa-
saying they didn't, I'm just
and
wondering
passed
where it
down,
came from.
and passed down. Years ago, meaning there were certain FWC areas, such down in the Keys, Stock Island, when I worked down there, others that took it upon themselves to implement this because of the proliferation of boats that were being used for wet storage and were sinking, and there was no accountability. So this program has now morphed into statewide. Statewide is what it's done. So I can, again, find I can find all the literature for it. And the operational plan, which has been completed now, so it's public record, so I can actually I can email that to Elise if you want me to. And she can get it to all of you. Would that be a better way to do it? So,
Just curious where the statute was, that was all, because it's something.
well,
I've never heard
it
of.
has to do with the existing derelict vessel statute.
Okay.
So this is not a new statute. This is just a new application of enforcement to be consistent around the state. Because we had areas around the state that were just ignoring derelict vessels.
You know, it'd be nice if the state of Florida, like other states, simply requires insurance on all vessels registered. You see what I'm just saying? It would simply make
Yes,
things.
and it would also be helpful if Georgia and Alabama gave us titles.
Well,
Also,
that
we had
would be
title on
too, because
vessels,
that's
so.
easy, but wow, it's just, other states do that. It would just solve so many
Yeah,
problems.
thank
that's
you,
all.
Aaron. Okay. So this is the law from, I'm going to go scroll down to the bottom. So, let's see. Nope, that is new this year, yeah. So it's 327.4107. So this is also, and I'll read it to you right here. And this is also in that operational detail. 327.4107, parentheses 2, sub-parentheses E, small e, like eclair or eggplant. An officer of the commission or of a law enforcement agency specified in 32070 may determine that a vessel is at risk of becoming derelict if any of the following conditions exist. And A through E list the conditions. And E says, the vessel does not have an effective means of propulsion for safe navigation within 72 hours after the vessel owner or operator receives telephonic notice, in-person notice, recorded on agency-approved body camera, or a written notice, which may be provided by facsimile, electronic mail, or other electronic means, stating such from an officer, and the vessel owner or operator is unable to provide receipt, proof of purchase, or other documentation of having ordered necessary parts for vessel repair. The commission may adopt rules to implement this paragraph. So, like I said, I think we found of the at-risk, we found 4 people, responsible parties, registered owners who made arrangements with the officers. One was a shrimp boat. That shrimp boat, that's off of Crane Park there. It's been a while. That gentleman needed basically a day to get someone out there and finalize his repairs, and he did his sea trial when, I think it had to go down 100 yards and turn around is what it is. It's in here, all that information, well, that information is probably in operational detail. So he passed his, and then 3 people are awaiting repairs.
If you're waiting on diesel parts for a Volvo engine, you could wait 6 weeks easily, if not more, just so you know. And
Well-
I do feel like we may run afoul of the federal navigation of what it means for a boat to be in navigation, but those are just general questions from me.
Okay. Well, I will get I'm fairly certain that's public record now. The detail has been closed, so I can get that to you so you all can peruse it if you'd like. So I can send it to Elise electronically, probably the best way to do it on that. So like I said, 10 at risk, 1 derelict vessel. The other at-risk vessels, if there's no, if we can't locate a responsible party or an owner, they will probably deteriorate to the point where they'll become derelict. So we're keeping an eye on them, on that. Let's see. Also, as you know, under 3 of our main bridges, Volano, Bridge Alliance, and 312, we've got the regulatory buoys there for slow speed in there. And as you probably know, it's like putting your finger in the dike, so to speak. New ones get put up, another one gets sheared off, it ends up in a marsh, or sometimes they get run over and they're just cracked. So Boating and Waterways asked us, meaning my crew, to go out and make an accounting. So, and we have within the last week, and they plan on putting new ones in where they are needed. Plus on some of them, even though they may not have been damaged, like I think there's one up by Volano on the southwest side. I mean, the top of it's just been sheared off. Someone ran over it. But the ones particularly down at 312, it seems like the seabirds love them, and they're leaving deposits all over them where you can't even read. You can't even read the legibly the writing on it. So those will be replaced also, because I don't think anyone's going to go out there and wipe them down to repaint them. So that's an update on that. In terms of boating accidents here, we haven't had any, as far as I know, we haven't had any significant ones since last month when I was here. Although Sunday we did one down in Flagler. We had 2 people in center console. They hit a boat dock at a HOA down in Beverly Beach. And fortunately, they hit the boat dock at an angle where it just collapsed about a 5-foot section, and miraculously neither one was injured. They just fell on the boat. What happened was the gentleman's papers were flying around loose, and he and his wife decided not to put the boat in neutral and slow down, pick up the papers. He left the helm. They both left the helm, and the boat's still on a plane.
Oh my God.
By the time they turned around, fortunately, the boat they didn't go underneath the dock, but the boat was turning a little bit sideways, and they bumped off a couple of pilings. And fortunately, and it's amazing they're not hurt. So it's a job security, and we see some interesting things down there. But that, we were very fortunate. The gentleman was very responsible, was very cooperative with the investigation. The HOA, they got together, so he has insurance on his boat, so it should be settled. But needless to say, there's 4 NAVRL violations right there that were violated. But I think the gentleman's going to be just receiving warnings for that. So he's, there's basically he's admitted things, and I think I've learned his lesson. So on that one. Fisheries, offshore, we haven't really been getting offshore much for a number of reasons. One, between that Operation Mudfish and other things going on with my squad, it's been hard to get offshore, but Officers Miller and Chamberlain got offshore on Monday. They went out to the, what is that? What's the reef? The Dorothy? Which one's out there again? I'm trying to remember the name of that one. Yeah. No, the Dorothy Louise or something like that. It's about 16 miles out there, and gentleman had an undersized cobia, and he tried to blame it on his son. So, yeah. Anyway, so, and say his son caught it when his son said, I guess his son didn't know to play along. I said, no, I didn't.
Gotta love kids.
No, I just tried to get the net. I said, okay, thank you. So, well, that's anyway. So Acoe was undersized, but really we haven't been able to get out there and do much. The redfish run down at Matanzas Inlet, or I should say the mullet run, the fall mullet run seems to be slowing down. Flagler catches inshore are okay. New flounder recreational closure, and the size limit started on Friday the 15th. It's closed for a month and a half. Right now, commercial quantities are tapped out at 50 pounds. And then the size limit increased from 12 to 14. But to tell you something that's consistent and still on the smaller side, if you look at flounder up and down the East Coast, not winter flounder, but the species we have is the left-eyed flounder family, which is more like the summer flounder up north, the bigger ones. So, and bag limit was reduced to 5 from 10, which is still reasonable. The only people I've seen get 10 lately are pretty much divers or people gigging. So I don't see hook and line fishermen getting 10 too often now we're legal size. Lastly, we had the FWC, its commissioners, have quarterly meetings around the state. And last week they had the meeting up at World Golf Village. That's about the third time it's been here since I've been here in 2008 as a supervisor. And a couple of things came up, or fisheries-wise. One was they're looking at modifying the redfish regulations on some parts of the Gulf Coast. I'm not sure. I wasn't there for that portion of the meeting, and I think it addresses just bag limits, and they may go back to a closed season. When I first came on in '92 for about 3 years, we had the redfish season was closed. We used to call it the MAM season, March, April, May. And then what happened was that was done away with, and also the bag limit was increased in this part of the state from 2 to 1, from 1 to 2 rather, sorry. So this part of the state, there should be no changes on that. They're just looking at the Gulf Coast right now. Goliath Grouper, or what we used to call the Jewfish, which we have some of them under Bridge Alliance and also 312. Basically, it's a big grouper. What was proposed was, and it's probably be implemented, was there will be an annual harvest of up to 200 tags that people can buy, such as same as with tarpon. You can't possess a tarpon unless you have a tag for it. Most of those tags go to charter fishermen a lot of times. So there will be up to 200 Goliath grouper harvested annually throughout the state of Florida. And I can tell you, when I worked down in Naples and Collier County, you could probably find 200 in a day right off Everglades City. It's not that, they're all over the place down there. But, and there's going to be a slot limit of 24 to 36 inches, a 12-inch slot limit. That's because anything larger than that's typically a breeder of some sort. Well, not some sort, but a breeder. So, and that's, those are the two of the things that came out of the commission meeting. And there was nothing on boating safety there. So that's all I have. Are there any questions or comments or anything like that? Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other government representative comments? That's a no. All right. Secretary Treasurer's report.
Okay, this was the end of the fiscal year. October starts the beginning. So as of September 30th, for the city police law enforcement overtime, of the $8,000 we budgeted, we've spent $3,562. Of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime, of the $25,000 budgeted, we've spent $12,000. Derelict boats, we've spent $10,965 of the $25,000 budgeted. We haven't really spent much for the unspecified marine projects, $25,000, I believe. Really, that pretty much is it. And then in the Florida State Board of Administration, we have $23,167. In the operating account, we have $218,869. In the money market account, we have $986,342, and the reserve shows $1.5 million. And then from the taxes that we budgeted last year, we budgeted $583,400. We received $585,876, with $2,476 as prior year's taxes received. And now we start the new year.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that? No? All right, next is approval of minutes. We actually have 3 sets of minutes to approve: the September 16th regular meeting, the September 16th first public hearing, and the October 1st final public hearing.
I'll move to approve all 3.
I'd like to just make a comment if I can.
Sure.
I just got that today, a few hours before the meeting, and I'm busy. So as for me, I can't even cast a vote on that. It's not, I've asked before, can you do at least 48 hours ahead of the time? But getting minutes a few hours, you don't know what people are doing ahead of a meeting, is just not enough time for me to read them.
Okay. Possible change to process going forward?
I have to cast a vote. Do I have to cast a vote, or do I
No,
abstain?
you can abstain.
Abstain.
Yeah.
I don't think you can abstain. You have to cast a vote,
No, you can absolutely abstain.
unless you have a...
Does anybody have any modifications to the minutes they'd like to make? We have a motion on the floor to
I move
approve all 3.
approval of the minutes.
Oh, I think that's a second then, because Jane already did. Great, so all in favor? Aye. And Sandy abstained. Great,
No.
okay, votes no. Engineering report?
Yes, sir. We don't have anything new to report other than some comments on items you have listed in old business.
Right, thank you. Good, that begins old business. Item A, sponsorship of Summer Haven study for discussion and vote. We were promised some information on this last time. I don't think we'd gotten it unless I missed it. Is that right? Has anybody else received anything?
The
From any
explicit information that we were seeking was whether or not funding for this study whether the county was going to be approached with funding for this study. And we got various responses from the group, both on the record and off, that they had approached the county and it was a no. But we requested that be put in writing. So that's where the board stood, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory from the last meeting.
Right, I also recall that we were meant to be put in touch with someone at Congressman Renner's office, which has not happened. And also there was it was Hudson, not Renner?
Renner and Hudson, but...
Renner and Hudson, great. And then also we were meant to be put in touch with a lobbyist who was going to tell us more information about
I believe
the
that
nature
some
of this
stuff was
study.
sent.
Nothing has been sent.
Ms.
We haven't
Darby
received
has been
anything.
in touch with the lobbyist in very detail. Could you,
Okay, but we have not received any of this info, and I do not feel prepared to vote on this unless any information
can
has
she
been
comment at
provided.
least on what we thought was sent already?
Sure, if you can make it brief.
I have been here. Beth Darby, 9369 Old A1A. I have been in touch with Ellen Bogdanoff. She is the lobbyist. I've also been in touch with her regarding Senator Hudson's office. I've sent y'all an email, each one of you, and I asked you if you had any questions to please contact Senator Hudson, and I gave you his number and asked that you do that. Did y'all get did you get the email?
No,
Did not.
I did.
You got the email?
I got the email.
You got it?
I got the email.
no, I did
Did
not
you
get
send
an
it
email.
I sent that last week.
I saw
and
the email, and she had everybody's address on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was,
But that was a request for them to call, not,
right, for each one of you, if you had any questions, to call Senator Hudson, that he was standing by and ready to answer any questions or concerns that you had. So the reason I did that was so we wouldn't get into this situation today. Regarding the question about the county and whether or not they had been approached, I remember that I was asked to send an email if I had it regarding any interaction with them. And I made a conscious decision not to send an email or not to send a series of emails because it's been very well documented since the early 2000s that there has been considerable conflict between Summer Haven and the county. And this has been going on since about 2002. And that resulted in a lawsuit in 2005, which I would imagine most of you are familiar with. And then that lawsuit went on for, I believe, 8 years, and then settled in 2013. And the settlement agreement has not been honored as written. We've had a lot of meetings, we've had a lot of interactions, written and oral, and we haven't been able to achieve compliance. So we came to you because we wanted a clean slate, and we thought it was a lot better to start anew and to try to get this study done, try to do it in a very neutral manner, and then hopefully move forward from there. So that was the reasoning for that.
It certainly
And
falls
I-
within the charter of the Port Authority to take the project.
Pardon me?
It falls within our charter easily to take a project like this, and as you know, we've already taken on one Summer Haven project.
And actually, it was Ellen Bogdanoff that suggested that we come to you, and she thought it was an appropriate venue. She has had a lot of interaction with me back and forth, and I apologize if you specifically wanted to talk to her, but that's why I put Senator Hudson out there, because he could talk to you and answer your questions probably better than Ms. Bogdanoff. So that's why I did that, and I don't know why you didn't get it. Apparently, Ms.
Mr.
Kemper
Rivers, did you
did,
get
and
it?
apparently Ms. Flowers did, so I don't know what happened here, but the same email went forward, and it indicated to me that you received it.
There's also some need about the urgency of the vote. Again, this is just for the study. And could you give us the dates again? It's the 17th or 18th of November
Yeah,
is the deadline?
one reason why I also sent that email was because we're under a time crunch, and we really can't delay it anymore, because if we do, we'll miss out on this opportunity, because your next meeting, I believe, is November 16th, and all of the information has to be in and presented on November 17th. And actually, the person who's going to present it is Representative Cord Boyd. He's going to actually present it. So we're running out of time, is basically what's happening. If this is delayed till next month, we will lose this opportunity.
So I guess I would have appreciated it if, maybe one of Senator Hudson's legislative aides or Cord Bird's legislative aides could have actually made a presentation on the substance of what we are being asked to sponsor as the local government sponsor. I get that we're not, paying for the study or anything, but we're being asked to sponsor a bill in this upcoming legislative session, and we need more, and we'd like to hear from the actual legislators that are going to be sponsoring it. Like, what is the messaging that they are going to be saying throughout committee week?
That's why I sent you the email, so you could talk to Senator Hudson and he could tell you. But I've got on my phone right now, which I can read to you exactly what the study is going to look at. I've got, I think it's 4 or 5 elements. I can read those to you right off my phone, if you would like for me to do that right now.
Chris and Tom, do y'all?
Well, as I recall, and I may be wrong, but I thought it was Reinert or somebody was going to come here.
Yeah.
Because my big question was, if we sponsor this, what are our liabilities? And then they say there's absolutely no liabilities, and what do they need us for?
Well, let me say this, the procurement is going to be through FDEP. You are just a pass-through, that's all.
Well,
Right,
why?
No, pardon
Why
me?
do you need a pass-through, is I guess my question.
Because you have to have a government sponsor, just
You have
basically
to.
to write the check.
Right.
Don't you have the senator?
Well, they can't write the check.
The senator or the representative is going to present it, but we have to have a local sponsor. That's why.
Is
That will cost. That does cost, because if the money's coming in to the port, which we would do, and then we have to in turn write the checks.
Right.
Yes, that's a cost
That's
to the
that's the
port.
basic responsibility according to what Miss Ellen had
And
said.
it's for nothing but a
is,
study. It's not for building any structure, it's not for doing anything except a study.
And they're even going to handle the people who do the study, which is going to be outside of the county. It's completely,
there anybody from Friends of Summer Haven that are involved in all this that can shed any light on it?
I don't think so.
What's the name of the representative you said that was going to present it?
Cord Bird.
Who?
Cord Bird.
He's up in
so
Duval.
Congressman Renner is on board
And
with us.
Congressman Renner is also on board. It's Renner, it's Cord Bird, and it is Senator Travis Hudson. They are all 3 on board for this project.
This is coming from a bolus of money that we have specifically earmarked for studies, and if we, it's just going to go somewhere else. And that the total of this particular thing, the total responsibility would be basically a money pass-through.
Right, that's it. And we desperately need this study. I mean, we are in a situation where we have access problems that are to the point of life and death issues right now. And this has been going on since 2016. And we have not gotten compliance with the settlement agreement. And we are in a situation right now that, like, people have, their health has been compromised.
So this is
Someone-
just about the road, then?
This is about- this is
A1,
about-
old A1A?
This is about old A1A. This is about ingress egress issues. This is about
So this is
health
about
and
maintaining a
safety.
road?
No, this is about a study to determine what is the best alternative for Summerhaven, considering that we
There
have.
may be no road.
Right, considering that we have severe erosion and that we have a failure to maintain over the years. So those two issues are going to be looked at to see if there is anything cost-effective that can be done to resolve those issues. And that means it speaks to three things, or a combination of things. One would be maintaining a road in the front along where A1A is right now, old A1A. One would be putting a road in the back across the estuary. The third one would be a buyout of any residents' homes that wish to do so, and/or any combination of those three.
So let me just express my concern here, because I think Chris's concern about the liability issue comes first and foremost. When FDOT unloaded this on St. Johns County, they basically walked unknowingly into a multi-million-dollar debt trap.
Yes.
What I'm concerned about is by taking any part of ownership of this project, even if it's in the nominal capacity of being the local sponsor of the bill, that would subject us to the same sort of liability that the county walked into. I get that you're saying that that is not the case, but that is the one legit question that Commissioner Way had, and it's not being answered.
Right.
There's no way I want to have anything to do with old A1A because of the financial liability that I saw the county go through.
Right.
I think that's a legitimate concern.
The county was involved in a settlement agreement, a court-ordered settlement agreement, that they did not adhere to. This is nothing like that. This is not court-ordered. This has nothing to do with that court-ordered settlement agreement. This is nothing but a study procured by FDEP. That's all it is. There's nothing to sue you over.
That's what we're being told, but that's not addressing the
One thing
concern
that
at all.
I
Go
would-
ahead, Tom.
Before I would even consider this, I have reason to believe that some of those people are not on board. I would like to see documentation written from Senator Hudson, Paul Renner, and the other person you mentioned, that they are on board and supporting this, and we don't have that.
Yeah, I
If you
talked
had
with Paul
called,
Renner's
if
office,
y'all
and they
had
had
called
no idea
Senator
what any of
Hudson,
this
you could
was.
have, you could have had this question answered.
I did. I independently got in touch with Paul Renner's office. In fact, spoke with Mr. Renner himself. No idea what any of this was. Could not tell me any
He has
details.
no idea what any of this is. Is
That's
that
what
what he personally told you?
That's what he told me.
Did you call Senator Hudson as the email instructed?
No, I didn't get that email. I talked to Mr. Renner, who we talked about in the last meeting, and he said he had no idea.
Mr. Renner works very closely with Ms. Bogdanoff, so I
Okay.
find
So
that
all that means
absolutely-
is that we really, really need some information from any of these people that in any way sheds any light on what this is, what it will require of us, and what your relationship with them is. And we've gotten none of that so far.
Then what specifically would you like? Would you like to have an oral conversation? Would you like to have a written letter? What do each one of you need?
Bill text, right? At a minimum, the text of the
Absolutely.
bill.
That we're sponsoring.
Yeah, that we're sponsoring. We need to
We're-
talk to at least one of these staff members from at least one, but potentially all of these elected officials who are apparently on board with this to talk about what commitments have been made and what commitments will be required going forward. We were told we were also going to get some technical information about this company that had already been hired or was being approached to do the study.
No,
I don't remember anything like that. And Mr.
nobody
Brown
said
has said
anything.
inconsistencies before from that chair.
All
Okay.
I said in reference to that was a company would be hired, an engineering firm would be hired that was neutral, that was outside of this venue that would actually do the study.
I may have
They have
misunderstood
not
that.
been hired. Nobody has been considered at this point because we don't have the money. So we haven't hired anybody.
What is it you mean by neutral? I'm not quite sure. If
What
you
I
hire-
mean is, we're going to step outside the county, and we're going to hire someone from outside this basic area.
And the reason for that is why?
Excuse me?
And why is that
We're doing that because of the considered, 2 decades of conflict that's occurred already.
And mismanagement.
and
And so we
who's the
think that-
conflict between, is I'm trying to,
I just explained between Summerhaven and between the county. Since the early 2000s, it
Linda, can-
resulted in the filing of a lawsuit.
has there been any back and forth over the 20 years? I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know.
Let me make a suggestion. Why, because we have sunshine law, and it is very time-consuming to ask each commissioner to reach out to these elected officials. Quite frankly, I'm not sure Senator Travis Hudson would even return my call. So
I'm sure he would.
I work in Tallahassee all the time, I'm not sure. But listen, let me make the
Please let her
suggestion.
finish.
Let me make the suggestion, in order to avoid sunshine burdens, why don't you have one of these guys, legislative aides, show up to the next meeting so we can have an up or down vote?
Too late.
Or alternatively, you can have them write in written documentation to all of us, go through Elise so Elise can make sure that it gets to every single commissioner, exactly what the bill language is, what the sponsorship potential liability is, and get that information over to us so we have it before the next meeting. That's
agree
one
with her.
solution.
We could call us,
I agree with that.
Can I,
We
can
could
I ask
call-
you a question?
Go ahead.
When you spoke with, was Reinhardt you spoke with?
Renner, yeah.
Renner, and he had no idea about any of this. How is that possible?
it's a very small project.
I don't understand how that's
It's a tiny
possible.
little project.
What's
Can you
that?
tell me the
I
date
said,
that
this
you
is
spoke
such a
with him?
tiny little project, it's very likely
He's
that he's
the
not.
incoming House Speaker. He's got his plate full with
Yeah.
reapportionment. I
Glad
mean,
he
it doesn't
remember
surprise me at
this
all.
160,000 would not be unusual.
Chairman Brown,
I know that
could I
he's
just-
aware
go
of the
ahead.
project.
I would just like to make one thing clear, just because this is being recorded. The only email I am aware of regarding this situation indicates that Senator Hudson intends to do his best to get in touch with you, referring to the commissioners, prior to next Tuesday's meeting.
That's correct.
Not that the commissioners were to reach out to Hudson, but that Hudson would make an effort to get in touch with each of
If you
each
were-
of you. Ma'am, please let me finish, do not interrupt. That Senator Hudson would intend to get in touch with each of you, just so that it's clear who was to contact whom.
When I
That
didn't
was
hear
all.
from Senator Hudson, I
Hey.
just went ahead and called his office on Friday.
It also suggested that if that did not happen, at the end of that email, it asked each of the commissioners to please reach out to Senator Hudson, and I gave his phone number.
It did not ask the commissioners to reach out. It indicated they were free to if they did not hear from the senator. There was no request that the commissioners
Oh,
independently
my
reach out.
goodness. I mean, that
Up
is
to you to
telling,
be
that's telling the
detailing her like that.
Hey, enough. I move that we table this until the next meeting because we
We
do
have
not.
no motion to
There's a
table,
vote,
there's no
there's a
motion on the
vote on the,
floor.
yeah, it says on the
I was
thing.
making the motion.
No, I mean, to table, you have to have a motion first.
When I put this on when I sent it to Elise, I said, please put on the schedule, motion/vote for this, because we knew we had to vote, so we might as well, whatever the vote is.
I did.
We're out of time, unless we could call a special meeting in a couple of weeks, come in for just to do that, give them enough time to get that stuff in, and also enough time on their end to send it off to the legislature. We
I
could do
would-
that.
I would appreciate it if you would do that, and I'll be glad to get all of the information that you're asking for. And I will get that for you in writing.
So that, do we have a motion on the floor
A
here?
motion to a special meeting to just handle that one thing.
Okay,
Is there a
repeat that,
date?
Commissioner, I can't hear what
She's
that
making
thing-
a motion to hold a special meeting so that we
In
could
like 2
vote on
weeks.
this 2 weeks from now before their deadline is up, but give them enough time to get us that information.
I have to have enough time too to find out. I have to advertise the special meeting. I have to get it in the paper, and I have to see if the room's
Okay.
available for when
So you need
want it.
7 days, so if we had it in 2 weeks, that would be plenty of time.
You guys have to
Okay.
figure out what day you want to do it.
All right.
and I
Motion
have
may
to
die
let
for
him
lack
know.
of a second.
Yeah, is there a second for that motion? No, the motion has died for lack of a second. Yes,
Can
sir.
I ask something? They're talking about this timeline where something expires. Does that mean that the money that you were get for the study just evaporates?
Yes, sir.
And who would make that money evaporate?
I assume that it's from it's our opportunity to approach the legislature. The study is tied to the money that is available this year. I think it's, Ms. West, you mentioned it, the amount of money like last year at the last meeting. I can't remember the amount. It's a tremendous amount of money that's out there for projects like
And
this.
Senator Hudson couldn't extend that, what you're telling me, that the legislature or whatever could not extend
I was
for
told
you
it
to
could
get-
not be extended, that this was the deadline for anything next year in 2022.
Well, that might be a good question to ask Senator Hudson
Yeah,
when he
the
calls. You
bill-
know, what,
Bill filing deadlines are December 3rd. And it also can be tucked in the waning days of session through a line item appropriation.
Right.
There are 4 forms that we have to fill out, which I have on my phone, and those 4 forms are due November 17th. And that is what I have been
So
instructed.
they probably need time on their end to write for the grant and everything.
Sounds
Maybe
hinky
a
to me.
filing of the December, but that still would only give them a couple weeks on their end if we had everything.
I
by the
only know
17th.
from my end, from our end, we were instructed that we had to have those forms completed. We had to have the vote completed from you, if you were willing to help us. And I had to have all of that in to Ms. Bogdanoff, and she indicated that the deadline for her was November 17th. So I'm giving you what she gave me in writing. And she asked me to please, if you had any questions, she was hoping that you had contacted Senator Hudson or that he had
Who is
contacted.
she?
Ms. Bogdanoff. She is the lobbyist that is attached to this project.
Lobbyist.
Yes.
Okay.
She is an attorney and a lobbyist.
She worked with Renner very closely,
She
correct?
works with Renner, yes.
Chairman, I just don't think we can do this in this time frame.
Yeah, I
I would
agree.
be willing to consider this with the proper documentation from the elected officials and from the lobbyist, but we have only a statement. This is a sponsorship of Summer Haven Study. I can't vote for it without more documentation. Like
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody
Tom,
has
what do you
said.
think about a special meeting in a couple of weeks?
I can't understand you.
What do you think about a special meeting in a few weeks, given time for her to
I
get all
would be
the...
against that.
You would or would not?
Yes.
You would be against it?
Yes, I would be.
Why would you be against that?
Well, for putting it together, the time frame that we have, and the fact that I kind of blame your group because you don't have the proper documentation for us to consider today. I have reason also to believe, as does our chairman, that Paul Renner did not know anything
What is that
about
reason?
this.
Would you share it with the public? Did you talk to Paul and he, I mean, I know what he said, but I
yeah.
still, again, this is,
I'll-
again, he's also said things like we needed a permit from DEP to fill potholes, and that wasn't true, okay? So, again, that doesn't mean that it didn't
All I can
exist.
tell you is I know that Congressman Renner knows about this project. I also know that Senator Hudson knows about this project. I also know that Cord Bird knows about this project. I mean, I've got emails on my phone right now that you can look at that shows you this communication going back and forth. And actually, when we had the very first meeting, I know Ms. Flowers came in and she had a document that she read out to you, and it gave you all the details of the study. It was extremely detailed, and it was about 4 or 5 paragraphs saying exactly what the study was all about.
I didn't see it. Mr. Chairman,
It was read by Ms.
Everybody,
Flowers.
including Elise.
Mr. Chairman,
and then
I
read it at the meeting.
move the agenda. That means let's get on to the agenda, the next item.
Yeah, if there's no other motions on this issue, then we need to move on to the next agenda item.
May I ask if I am supposed to present you with information?
No, I mean, you can certainly try to present us with information before the next meeting, the information that we requested now, but there's nothing else to be done on this at this meeting.
You're not going to do a vote for you.
Oh, I can see. Thank you.
The next item is purchase of radiation detector. Sergeant Josh Underwood, who is not here, neither is Deputy Braddock. They were also meant to provide us with information before this meeting, specifically on, I believe, there was some pushback on whether or not this was actually, the degree of threat that this presented, and we were told we were going to get some information
I thought we
from
already got
DHS.
We already got the vote on that,
Did
didn't
you,
we?
Yeah, and last month, let me see what Josh said.
did you pass that along to all of us?
I thought we already voted that in.
Oh, he just said that he was out,
Deputy Braddock had to take off.
Okay, so I think we should probably table this until the next meeting when there's actually at least a representative of one of the agencies here
Bill, he was
to
gonna
talk to
send-
us about it.
He said it was just supposed to be voting on the funding contract, because you discussed it at the last meeting.
Right, but he had said he
I
was
thought we
going to
voted
send
for it.
along some additional info on that.
Well, I think this was another one where we had asked Mr. Underwood to approach the county. I guess they came to us first for the funding,
Right.
and we requested that they approach the county first. And I did a little bit of research on this, and apparently there are federal grants available to law enforcement through the Department of Homeland Security,
Right.
countering weapons of mass destruction, and this would fall under that. So I'd really like them to pursue federal grants before they dig into our coffers.
Yeah, that was going to be my exact comment, is this seems like something DHS should be paying for rather than the taxpayers of this
So-
district.
You need to email Josh.
I'd be happy to email Josh.
Thanks.
Are we going to put this on the agenda at the
We're gonna
next
take a
meeting?
vote on it, aren't we, rather than we just put it asunder? I mean, we are gonna get a vote on it, right? Or we're just tabling the
Do you want to
vote?
make a motion to vote on it?
Just to,
I'm just trying to figure, are we tabling the vote or tabling the issue altogether?
I think tabling the vote. I will email Josh and tell him the nature of our discussion this afternoon, and he can come back to us next month.
What was the total for that thing?
It was about $12,000, I believe, for 10 units or something, I think.
13,500.
1,400 a unit, yeah.
Oh, there you go, yeah. Another question I had, which no one is here to answer, is how long those units last out on the saltwater. I have a sneaking suspicion that that's going to end up being a, once every 2 years line item for us for the foreseeable future.
Would this be on the agenda at the next meeting?
Yeah, at least, I'll email Josh, I'll email Josh about it and ask him if if they're going to pursue a federal grant for it, and if they've asked the county, because it might not even be a live issue for us.
Discussion from last month, and it does seem like it's something that we really need. It would help the security, in our area, so I'm in favor of it, but let's make sure it gets on the agenda again.
Sure, I'll email Josh and tell him everything that we discussed today, and then we'll see if he wants it on the agenda or if he's going to pursue other funding for it. The next agenda item is discussion regarding the Army Corps permit expiring, Friends of Summerhaven.
Linda Ginn, Friends of the Summerhaven River, 9051 Gene Johnson Road. First of all, I would like to answer Commissioner Way's question about Friends of the Summerhaven River and a lawsuit. We have never been involved in anything to do with that. I don't even know the particulars of it. I know there was one, that's about it.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify that. That was not any part of anything we had to do with, so. And we have, for the sand fencing request and the permit renewal request, a very brief presentation we'd like to do for you. It's going to show some of the areas that we would like to procure the sand fencing for, and also people enjoying the river now that it's open, and not just people, but animals. And those are the reasons that we need to keep the permits active for the river. So anyhow, it's just very brief. We have a member who put together a really nice show, and I'm going to ask him to come up at this point.
Miss Linda, you keep saying the river is open around to the intercoastal,
Yes, ma'am.
but there's no flow of current through.
Yes, ma'am, there is.
So low tide, you've got a river that flows all the way through to the intercoastal now.
At low tide, there are still sandbars and so forth. It's
And
going to
trees and all
take,
kinds of stuff. So that river is not open. I just want to make sure this board knows, and I encourage
Okay.
y'all to use, just a minute, your $200 travel check you get every month, to travel down there and make sure you see exactly what's been done. That's all.
We would love to invite any port member who would like to come and drive from Matanzas Inlet at high tide.
High tide is
Later
not
high tide.
navigational, honey. It's just not. A river's not navigational at only high tide.
We have been told by the engineers and the scientists that over time, the river's not going to magically start right away. It has to scour over time.
Which are those scientists? Because I would love to speak to them. Who are the scientists involved?
Whitney Lab.
Whitney Lab.
Yes.
Okay, and they are involved with this project? They have surveys?
They have, yes.
Or
Well,
they
they're
just make
not
comments?
on staff or anything,
So
but.
they've made comments
They
about
have
it.
made comments based on their, yes. But anyhow, the river at high tide is flowing. We would love for any of you to come down. 2.3 miles of river, all the way from Matanzas Inlet to the intercoastal. And it's going to show the public park, Helen Mellon Schmidt, was donated to the county. It's 37 acres of both active and passive recreation.
That's
So
the one that butts up to Rattlesnake Island?
it's
the
on
backside of-
Rattlesnake,
Right, okay.
yes. 37 acres, yes, okay. Steve, take it away.
Hello, I'm Steve Tatul. I live at 245 Barataria Drive in St. Augustine. And I represent also the Barataria Island Homeowners Association, which is about 38 homeowners.
Sure, could you speak into Mike just a little bit? I just can't hear you.
Sure.
Thank you.
So in the past, we've discussed, environmental significance of the river as a key part of the estuary system. We've previously discussed the role the beach dune and the river play in protecting property. But today, we really simply wanted to say thank you for your efforts to support and maintain the river. So the following is a brief presentation just to show the diverse recreational use of the river by county residents and visitors. As you can see on the slides, kayaking is very popular on the river's calm protected waters. Here you can see kayakers gathering at the north entrance to the river at Matanzas Inlet. Kayaking and paddleboarding are very popular on the river. Individual and group lessons and tours are often seen on the river. In this shot, you can see small boats, jet skis, kayaks, and paddleboards often launch from Helen Mellon Schmidt Park and other locations along the river. Here we see some fishing kayaks, fishing paddleboards near Helen Mellon Schmidt Public Park's Rattlesnake Island. And important to note that this spot can be accessed by the public via Helen Mellon Schmidt Park.
I think that's the only thing you can float through there certainly at low tide, is an SUP. Because I don't see a kayak, but even a kayak, you can't paddle at low tide through there.
This area is quite open.
Here's a few spots, if you do this around the sidebars. I mean, if you're showing us the great job that we just finished doing, I just want to comment.
Sure.
I've been down there to see it, I've been down there in a boat to see it, it's not navigable, it's not what we paid for. We're putting asphalt up on the beach berm. There's an old road right now and a beach berm down in South Summer Haven watching into the beach. I've pulled plumbing lines and electric lines out of that new beach berm that went in on our open permit, that we had no idea they were going to do that. And it looks like you guys are just showing us all the great projects that have been finished.
Yeah, I can't comment on those items. My intention here was really just to present a day in the life of the river and the people and animals that are using the river. So that's really what my focus is here. Obviously, you can see from this slide, fishing is popular throughout the length of the river. Again, this spot is on Rattlesnake Island and can be accessed by the public via Helen Mellon Park. This shot, the one to the right, is a location known as Granny's. It's also popular for fishing and kayak launching, paddleboard launching as well. You can see some cars on the shoreline there that they can get down to the water. This is the north bridge over the river, and again, quite often a popular fishing location. Also, again, you can see kayaks being launched in the background. A little further south on the river, you can see young children here learning to kayak. Sections of the river can be accessed by the public via State Road A1A. Again, the river's waters are protected from wind and waves, which make it very popular for paddleboarding and eco-tourism. The river can be accessed again by the public via State Road A1A and/or Helen Mellon Park. In the background to the right, you can see the 2018 dune restoration area. Moving down the river again, children fishing. Just some things you see on the river. Here's a technical bowling skiff. Granted, this is a shallow water boat. But interesting in this picture as well, right about just to the right of the center of the photograph, you can see the last bit of 2021 dune restoration taking place. Again, just a quick look at some diverse uses along the river bank. Here we can see people enjoying the riverbank on the west side of the river, while on the other side of the river you can see the dune vegetation.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but so along the vegetated area there is where we would like to see the sand fencing put, that will also connect to the county's sand fencing at the southern end. So ours would just go down and connect with the one the county already put in.
About how long is that strip?
Terry?
Half a mile.
Half a mile.
This shot, it's just a 10-second video. Just to show you that it's just not isolated spots of the river that are being utilized. You can see quite a stretch here is being accessed. Again, some other uses, jet skis, surfboards. It's an interesting, and next to the kid there's a machine that these guys built. Was interesting to see that ingenuity is alive and well with our young folks. They built this machine with a 5-horsepower lawnmower to spin a spool that pulls a ski rope, and they don't need a boat to wakeboard or bowl. So it's an interesting thing to see. Not sure why it's not going to play the video for you, but we'll just have to pass on that video. Again, I'd like to thank you for your support. The river has a lot of recreational value and easy access to the public. In this shot right in the center, you can see where cars are able to pull relatively close to access the river. Here's just a quick peek at a couple of our animal friends that are using the river as well. In this shot, you can see a mature manatee actually feeding on the blooms of a mangrove tree.
It's about halfway down.
Not sure what's happening here, but the videos are not... This was actually a video of the manatee eating those blooms, but unfortunately, we're just seeing it in still form. In this picture, there's schools of juvenile mullet, which are seen throughout the river. And in this case, they were swimming in a circle around a juvenile sea turtle. And these are common sights along the river. The number of juvenile sea turtles that utilize the river, it's pretty impressive. I see multiple juvenile turtles on a daily basis. And I guess as the sun sets on the presentation here, I'd just like to summarize by saying that the river is a tremendous asset to the entire St. John's community and its visitors. If there's any questions, I'd try to do my best to answer them. If anybody's interested, I have a printed version of this if anybody would like it.
What's your vision for Summer Haven?
My vision? I would just say that my desire is to, keep this valuable asset open and flowing and to be enjoyed by wildlife and the public.
What do you think about doing a study to see where we stand now and should go into the future?
A study on,
I'm seriously interested.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's hard to represent everybody, and you're standing here in front of me. What do you think about doing a study to see where we scientifically stand now and what we should do in the future? Do you think that's a good idea, or we should not do that?
I think if it has to do with maintaining and preserving the river, I'd be interested.
Good answer. So the agenda item is discussion regarding the ACOE permit expiring. Ken, can you tell us a little bit about it? We just need to send a letter to the Corps.
Yes, sir. There's, the permit's set to expire on November 24th, 2021. We can request a 2-year extension, or that would be the plan, is to request a 2-year extension. We have already extended this one 2 years, so we're not sure exactly what the Corps' their reaction is going to be. If we submit the request at least 30 days ahead of the expiration date, the permit automatically does not expire until they make a formal determination about whether or not they're going to extend it. So at the very least, it kicks it down the path a little bit.
What is the permit exactly for?
It's the general permit for it's the Army Corps' general
Yes,
permit
this is
for
the
Summer Haven
Port District's
project.
permit that we got back in, it's 2012-02400. So,
Does this come along with U.S. Army Corps
I
inspectors?
can't hear you, ma'am.
Or it's just a permit?
It's just a permit.
It's just the permit, yeah.
So it's a permit from the Army Corps saying we can do whatever we want down here?
No,
That's what I'm saying. What
absolutely not.
exactly is it for?
It's for the project, like the
Basically,
designation yeah.
yes, it's the original permit that allows for construction of the Port District's project, and allows maintenance of it as well. So if there's an issue down the road with
But there's no projects going on at all right now? that the port
storm impacts or whatnot, that you could react to that.
Right. So I would vote in favor, I'd make a motion to ask Taylor to send a letter to the Army Corps. I think you guys aren't even charging us for that, is that right?
No.
Yeah, so I move that we have Taylor send that letter. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
There you go. Summer Haven sand fencing. There's a specific request for allocation of funds. No, I'm sorry, this is just, we're looking for a permit for sand fencing at this point, is that right? To extend the permit, or to try to get the permit that the county already has for the
Right.
south side extended up to the north end?
Right. We talked, I don't recall exactly when it was, about sand fencing some time ago. And at that point, we we talked with Taylor, and we weren't sure about the permitting because there's a field permit, which is, and please correct me if
No,
I'm
no,
wrong.
go ahead.
A field permit is relatively easy to get. It doesn't have to go through a bunch of hoops and so forth. And so we knew that the county was going to be pursuing a sand fence permit for the part that they've done. And we said, well, let's wait. And then if they've already approved a sand fence permit for the southern end, you know, then you would hope it would be a no-brainer to approve it for the northern end, part of the same dune system. So our request is that we look into, you know, what kind of permit we could get, what the costs for labor and materials would be, and, you know, pursue that if it's not going to be a complicated thing.
Great. And Ken, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So as part of the county's FEMA berm construction project that recently concluded, we were able to get 2 separate field permits, one for the post-Matthew work that they did, which is basically the southern portion of that project. And then there's, in essence, the middle portion, which was post-Irma funding that came through, and we got a separate permit for that. So we got it now. We understand what the process is. It is simple, straightforward. To do that same type of thing for the northern portion of that stretch of beach should be very straightforward. I would anticipate something on the order of about $600 for our labor to get that application in and processed. And we would, one difference for this one will be if we do it after November 1st and we get outside of sea turtle nesting season, it actually expedites things even more. So there's a one step that's taken away from the consultation that the DEP has to do. So if there's ever a slam dunk when it comes to permitting, this is probably it.
But what are the impacts of the sand fencing on sea turtles? I mean, we just heard a presentation where there's abundant juvenile sea turtles.
Right, so the sand fencing is all installed on the back side of the dune, on the landward side of the dune. So there should not be any interference with nesting hatchlings making their way back out to the ocean, unless they go the wrong way, and that's a lighting issue, and that's
What about the sand, so the turtle goes up to the dune and rolls down the other side and gets stuck in the fence? Because that's happened actually, with the berm to the south. They've already pulled a turtle out of the fence.
I can't hear
'Cause it's
you,
on the
ma'am.
back
I'm sorry.
side. You can't hear me?
No, ma'am, I can't.
How
I'm
does
sorry,
that
I have a
talk?
little bit of a trouble.
I'll do it again. They've already in the south berm that's full of asphalt and plumbing and electrical wires. They've already had turtles go up that berm because the berm is substantially further towards the sea than our middle berm that we did a few years ago. And the turtle went right up there and fell right into the turtle fencing, and I guess would have been there to die. So I've never seen a sand fence on the backside of a sand dune. That's all. There's nothing on the ocean side of this south berm, and so all that asphalt's washing out into the beach, and I'll send you all pictures of that later. But, I mean, is that supposed to happen? Are we supposed to dig up the road and put it into sand dune?
No.
I didn't think so, honey. It's all over you. I'll send you pictures. The entire berm is full of it. Anyways, the berm is washing away very quickly.
Disagree.
You disagree? Okay, I'll send you pictures.
Do we have any more discussion on this issue or any motions to approve the permitting action on the part of Taylor?
So what we're looking at right now is a motion to seek a DEP permit for sand fencing?
DEP field permit, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Second. So, sorry, was the motion made?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and move accordingly.
Okay, and we had a second from Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
There you go. All right, last old business item is May Street pothole fill. Commissioner Flowers.
Okay, unfortunately, since we waited 2 years to do it, the price has really gone up. I was hoping that old fella, Mr. Hersey, would be able to just bring it over at $150 a bucket, a truckload, but they've taken him to Gainesville, so he's not doing it anymore, so we're stuck with corporate. It looks like, and amongst 2 people that are willing to take their time and do it, because unfortunately, it's just such a small job. The best price I can get out the truck, including the substrate to go into the ruts and the grooves and everything, and also the rolling back over it to smash it down would be $7,700. Yep. Tried to reduce that rate by saying, what if we just just use some crushed up shell or something, it's gonna be the same price no matter what. But I did find out that more than likely the best thing to put in there is what's like white concrete that's been crushed into mostly pebbles and powder, and they put that down in there and they just run over it several times, and it won't float away is what I've been told.
Sandy, can you refresh my memory, like, where is this near the
I'm sorry,
bridge?
this is the May Street, I don't have a picture on me today, the May Street boat landing. If you were right at the big Volano Bridge.
Right.
And where the carousel used to be.
Yeah.
There's that road.
Yeah.
And there's that little tiny bridge, we call it May Street Bridge, you'd almost not
Right.
notice it.
Right.
And
Over
it's right.
Hospital Creek,
It's
right?
the new bridge over Hospital Creek.
Okay.
And the launch that they've been used since the old bridge was taken away, is where we're talking about, and it's just like a hard sand road.
I've seen it.
And it already has like a concrete, I don't know if it was from the old bridge or not, has a concrete thing already in the water. It's just before that is a terrible pothole. I think you can even see it on Google Earth. But I believe it looked like there were no more than 5 major potholes there. But we just can't, when old man Mr. Hersey left, we really lost a way to get some good stuff
Mr.
cheap.
Chairman, could somebody interpret what Commissioner Flowers is saying?
Commissioner Flowers is saying that it's going to cost about $7,700 to fill all those potholes in the May Street boat.
Has she made a motion yet?
No motion on the floor yet.
So why would it be the port's responsibility and not the city of St. Augustine or DOT?
Because we own, the
Because
port.
we own it.
The port owns a piece of the land, and we have already made a motion and had a vote to fill the potholes, if y'all remember. It was that was some time ago, and we just haven't done it yet.
Mr. Chairman, if I could?
Yeah.
Just to keep the record clear, the last time this issue, what I believe Commissioner Flowers is referring to, is at the August 17 meeting. Commissioner Flowers made a motion to expend up to $2,000 for this issue, and it died for lack of second.
It was before that, sir. It was not in the last couple months. We did this just after Miss West came on.
This
And we
was the
did
last
finally-
time, this is the last time it
Not
came
saying
up.
I'm
that,
saying
that
that's the
was
most
about
recent.
the amount of money that we were spending, but I'd already made a motion that we voted on to at least fill them. Then I kept coming back trying to get the amount approved. It was not in August that we voted on that resolution.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Chairman.
can I just point out that I think it's incredibly important that we provide as much boat access, kayak access, and stand-up paddleboard access as possible. I'm really not thrilled with the idea of asphalt going in that close to the
Oh, no,
water's
that's
edge.
not asphalt.
Please don't
It's-
interrupt
but
me.
it's important. It's not asphalt.
Okay, I heard you.
That's very different. That's a
just
petroleum product.
putting this on the record, Sandy,
Okay,
that's
but
all.
Put it right, that it's not asphalt.
Okay, so if we could have a compatible material that would not cause any sort of toxic contamination, I would like to see that pothole filled, especially if it's on our property. I do think we have a bit of responsibility to maintain that for public use. And in the grand scheme of things, $7,700 for a decent, half-decent boat ramp is pretty negligible. So I'm going to move that we expend the funds to, I think we should probably put it out to bid, but expend the funds to fill the pothole.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, well, is there a second?
Is there a second?
Well, I'd like
second
to,
it.
before.
So second from Sandy, but discussion now, go
Okay,
ahead.
Well, potholes are never fixed. If you have a pothole, it's going to be a pothole again at some point. I'm not opposed to filling them, but this will come back again. It's just,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
probably the only person over here that lives at Volano Beach and passes there several times a day. We've been having extremely high tides. Anybody near the water knows that the tides have been very, very high the last month or so. And that completely fills up with water. And any improvements you put in there is going to wash away in a short amount of time.
Not concrete,
But
not
more important than that is that area is being constantly used by people, regardless of the potholes. The people are learning to park up on that hill so that when the high tides come, water does not get in their cars. They know how to
That's so
use
sad,
that
Tom, that
area.
people
So
are
I
having
think
to
it would be,
park
Sandy, let him
that.
finish.
I think it would be a complete waste of money and I'm opposed to it.
Well, again, we've already taken a vote to fix the boat landing. If y'all want to go back, I'll go back and find it on the record. But we took a vote, and you did oppose it, and it passed. So I'm just trying to get it done.
Sandy, did you ever get your exemption from DEP?
I actually
applied
have
for?
that. I've been moving this month. I'll get that to you. I actually have it.
Okay, well, assuming that
I
we,
have that in the email. I can get that.
assuming that we get that exemption, I will vote in favor of that too. So I'd like to modify the motion that pending receipt of that exemption, we spend up to, what, $8,000 then to fill potholes in that parking lot? We have a motion and a second. Everybody okay with that modification?
I'll second it.
Great, so all in favor? Sorry, go ahead,
I'm
Chris.
sorry. I'll vote for it once, but when it goes away, I don't ever want to hear about it
Done
again.
it in over
Right.
50 years, so if we have to do it another 50, we'll be all dead.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed, no. There we go. Great. We are now on to new business, Regatta of Lights, Jay Miller.
Yeah, Justin Mueller, 31 Nelmar Ave, St. Augustine. I'm representing the yacht club. I am the Commodore of the yacht club currently. So, as I believe all of you know, the Regatta of Lights, a parade of decorated and lit boats directly in front of the bayfront, has been a tradition in St. Augustine for over 40 years in conjunction with the city's Nights of Light celebration during the month of December. At the city's request, the St. Augustine Yacht Club has been organizing and hosting the Regatta of Lights for more than 15 years. As the event takes place directly on waters in front of the St. Augustine boat front, it draws a very significant number of spectators on the bayfront, at the fort, on the Bridge Alliance, and in hotels and restaurants that overlook the bay. As a side note, the 2020 event was canceled last year due to COVID. This year, as in past years, the budget for this event is $10,000 in cash and over $2,500 of in-kind donations. The in-kind donations include hundreds of hours of volunteer work and use our facility at the Yacht Club to host the award ceremony following the event. The cash portion of the budget is used to advertise for the event, rent tents and audio equipment both on the waterfront and at our clubhouse, acquire necessary permits, purchase trophies, etc. This portion of the budget has come from grants by both St. Augustine Port and Waterways and St. Johns County Tourism Development Council, TDC. Over the year, grant monies from TDC have been increasingly hard to come by. This year, they've awarded us $2,389. Today, we are respectfully requesting $7,500 in order to meet our budget. Sadly, without this, we'll have no choice at this point other than to cancel the event again for 2021. Thank you again for your time, and I'm happy to
I'm
answer.
having difficulty hearing you. You speak fast, and what's the date of the
I believe
event?
it's sorry, I don't have a note of it. It's the second, I believe it's the 11th of July this year.
What was
Sorry, the 11th of December.
December.
December 11th? Okay.
December 11th.
Well, if you remember Chairman Brown and the other commissioners before Commissioner West was here, when this came up before the pandemic, because y'all didn't come last year, I don't think, we have directions from the Attorney General in a letter that says we can't even sponsor a fishing tournament, and that we have to do our main things, which is dredge, maintain, blah, blah, blah. But one thing that this could fit under was, we discussed it was under advertising. And that if there was some way we could make this work with advertising, but I couldn't vote for it because of that letter from the Attorney General that says that we can't sponsor events like that. Because, see, you guys are going to have a private party with the tax dollars and whatnot, and I've spoken to several members at the Yacht Club and said if you could figure, you have a thing out there y'all do by the wall where you award things or whatever. It's a huge advertising platform if you ask me. So that if you were advertising the Port Authority, et cetera, that we could put money into that. But as supporting it as a sponsoring the event, it doesn't look like our charter supports it, even though I know we did it before. Our charter really doesn't, unless we're advertising.
Okay. Well, I can comment that the TDC funds require us to do significant advertising, both here in the county and outside of the
Okay.
county. And we could certainly include mention in all of that, both print and, you know, radio ads and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think if you slap our logo on some things, that would more than satisfy that requirement.
And we'd be happy to have a banner out front. And when you say private party, it's not a private party of the Yacht Club at all. It's open to all members. Anybody that has a boat that enters the parade, which they can do free of charge, are welcome to come back to the club after the
So it's
event.
just, it's still not open to the public in general is what I'm saying. But that's all right. If you're, again, if you're
It's not
advertising-
exclusive to members of the Yacht Club or
It's the
anything like
same way Fine supports some of those trash boats. They put a logo, and if we can get the logo on, that really helps a
We
lot.
could,
And this
I
at
can
least has a
certainly
logo.
agree to have the logo both on our tent at the waterfront, the judge's tent.
And Miss Elise has a logo that you could, right, Elise? You could get them.
She's got it. Jane, did you have a?
should have it.
Yeah.
Actually, you guys should
We
have
probably do have it, but if not, I can reach out to
Yeah.
you to get
And
that.
there was something where, when you were making announcements over this with the boats, you always, the deal was that you would mention that, help sponsored by the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District.
That would be great,
Yeah, and that we can certainly do, and, again, in print ads, we can certainly put that on there. We also pass out flyers to all the, marinas far and wide to encourage participation of boats, and we can certainly have your logos on those type
That'd
of
be
things.
awesome. I mean, that's a lot of
How many
serious-
people have signed up as of today, or is that?
So the sign-up isn't even really open yet, but we typically, I think we've had as few as maybe 20 or 22 boats, but we have had events where 40 or more boats come. But, the bay, I'm sure many of you have come to watch it. The bayfront and the Bridge of Lions and everything is packed with people.
Are y'all offering a prize yet? Is there a prize for who wins the best boat?
We have, yes, and that's a significant portion of our budget. They are just trophies. It's not trophies, not prize money.
So they're not doing prize, some cities have the prize money, and you should see the show out for those parades. That prize money's nice.
That's true, and I know Palm Valley does that, but Palm Valley charges an entry fee.
Right, even
for their-
$5,000 would be cool, but
Right.
anyway.
So I just wanted to note to my fellow commissioners, it does fall within our mission statement, which is to promote and facilitate the development of St. Augustine as the major center for commercial and recreational marine activity in Northeast Florida. So.
Right, but we sent
Oh, okay,
that.
well, congratulations, Tom, because I think it falls squarely within the mission.
Commissioner West, let me comment. That's exactly what the AG said, is not, that we must promote the port doing these 5 things.
I think your
We're just-
ideas are great, and they're obviously willing
Have it clear,
to
that's all.
comply.
The
so.
AG said we couldn't do it unless we're advertising.
Their budget is 10,000, is that what I heard?
Well, our total budget is $12,500, including in-kind donations of volunteers and that type of thing. And we have almost $2,400 committed from TDC.
Have you raised any money through the yacht club?
So, again, the Yacht Club we raise the money through the Yacht Club by getting all our members to volunteer to make this happen.
That's
How
the
much are you
in-kind.
asking from us?
7,500.
7.
Okay.
7,500, I believe. 7,500.
Well, I've been on the board for 12 years now, and we've always done this. We've always helped sponsor it. And they do have a
I'm
sign
not
on the
against it,
tent,
Tom, I
which-
just want it to be done legally according to what the Attorney General says, and it's not just anything
If
that
you-
promotes the
We'll get some
port.
logos out
A lot promotes the port.
You want to put in your motion to do that, we must?
Carl, I believe, wants to opine on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, if it'll be helpful, the Florida Inland Navigation District helps fund boat parades all up and down the east coast of Florida. We limit it to, unfortunately, just $500 per boat parade. Right now, and we've provided funding to these guys every year that I've been around. Plus, we're also giving $500 to Julian Creek and $500 to Palm Valley. So from a government standpoint, for what it's worth, we support boat parades. And in my time around here, the way it's always worked is the Yacht Club puts out a brochure and the port's logo is all over it. So
That's
in the
all I'm
past,
asking, is
I've
that we
seen a
follow
good
the
bit of
charter. Very good.
advertising for the port.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
Mr.
thank you.
Piggott, how much is the city throwing in?
This isn't a city event.
Oh,
Interesting.
The city just asked them to do it, though.
Right.
The city
Cities-
asked y'all to put it on, but they don't throw any money in. That's not what they told us last year.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I want to ask a question first. Elise, the last time we donated to this, do you remember how much it was?
It was in the $7,000 range. I remember it pretty distinctly.
Just that, because one year we did, I think it was like 55, and then it went up.
Yeah, and it's again because we used to rely far more on TDC for the funding.
And you weren't getting as much funding from anybody else. so
Right.
then
We do have to have a grant application to do this money, though. Have y'all done that?
Dixon used to.
Right.
I was not made aware that I need a grant.
I'm sorry, everything that we fund like this has to be on a grant application, and it's on our website.
Yeah, it's a
very
pretty short,
simple.
it's a short form, and Elise
fill it out.
can direct you to it, and you'll be able to fill it out in 20 minutes.
You can find it right on, it should be right on the website.
Yeah, it's on our website.
So I'll go ahead and move conditional on you filling out that grant application by the end of this week, that the Port Authority contribute $7,500 to the Regatta of Lights.
I will second that. All in favor?
Some language in that resolution about the advertising.
Abide by our charter and the AG's opinion to basically have the
logo.
Port Authority logo on
Prominently displayed.
prominently displayed on
Wherever
their
we can put it, we'll put
advertising
it.
I just like it done legally, I appreciate
Great.
it.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Great. That brings us
Congratulations.
to public comment again. Nothing. Comments by commissioners. Tom? Chris? None for me. Jane?
Yeah, our website, it needs some work, so Matt and I are going to confer, bring it up to date. If there's anything that you guys want to have displayed on it, shoot it over in an email and we'll get it over to Avid.
I'm sorry, who's doing the work?
Shoot it
Avid.
over to me, don't shoot it to them.
Yep, thank you. Sorry, you.
Yeah, shoot whatever you want to put on the website.
Any changes? It's
Any
time for
changes?
a
Okay,
Okay,
refresh.
Can we say right now, or just, you just
No,
wanted a list? Okay.
she'll collect it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Sandy?
No.
Great. Next meeting will be Tuesday, November 16th. This meeting is adjourned.